Hello, hello. Hey, Graham.
Hi there. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Hey there, guys. How are you?
Hey, Lucas.
Hi there.
Yes.
Hi, Graham. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Oh, yeah. Likewise.
Excellent. I saw some of your posts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
trying to
thanks.
get the.
Yeah, Lucas, you've been killing it lately.
Yeah, happy to be there. Happy to give back a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice working, and then in the morning I see like, oh, I don't have like 10 things to respond to, and you already got. I mean, that's exactly what I was hoping too would happen. Just those keeping the conversation going. Other people have told me too. They've noticed that the like it just feels more alive in the Discord, which is cool.
Happy that it works as we mentioned, intended. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great
Because
to hear.
it makes sense too, because like when people join and then they see an active server, they're more likely to engage, so to speak.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
alrighty. Hey Rick. So as more people join, got some hopefully we'll get some new faces in today. Got some new customers in this week, which is nice. We also just did a new release. 1.18 was pushed about an hour ago. So we're going to go over what was in that release and talk about some of the stuff that we talked about in our Thursday call and then do general Q&A at the end, like always. Oh, let's see. Let's make sure somebody can get in. Waiting to get in the room. Hopefully he's joined the right room. All right. So, teen is out. The first thing is we finally got the conversation starters fixed. So those will now go away after somebody uses them for the first time. That's a nice update. Marketplace, Tim will be doing a quick little demo of that in a few minutes. And we're super stoked to show that to everybody. V1, I guess, is finally ready to showcase to everybody. This is going to be huge for everybody in terms of being able to speed up the process of being able to use an already created bot and then just optimize and update it as needed. So that's going to be amazing. We'll do that in a few minutes here. And then this is probably our biggest update that we've been working on in the background. We've been talking about this internally for a while and kind of referencing this in some other materials about how collectively all the agencies in the Discord and people that come to the Thursday meetings collectively we're on the forefront of how to actually engage and use these prompts to do certain things or like have, do what we actually want them to do. And part of that is integrating the different modules that we've created thus far. So, for example, being able to train a chatbot on a bunch of knowledge and it knows all the answers about that business. Being able to have the AI ask questions to the user and then extract their answers. And then the last one that we just added, which was calendar booking, being able to auto calendar booking. These are all different like functions, so to speak. And what we've realized is we needed to kind of update the way that we interacted with the way that you guys have created your prompts to make it so that way it's more reliable over time when we're trying to do these different functions at different times. So, for example, some agencies in the past have asked, like, I want to be able to, um, have it require or do the lead generation process after it asks or after it answers a certain amount of questions, or be able to integrate an answer into the response and then ask the question in that same response. And that might be really confusing if I'm just like arbitrary, if you're trying to like visualize this in your head. But essentially, what this means is it's a more reliable way and more control for agencies to do what you want these AI. Tim, do you want to take over?
Yeah,
Rambling.
yeah, exactly. So when we started doing this, function calling didn't exist from OpenAI and ChatGPT. So what we had to do is determine we had to basically send the knowledge base results with the prompt, and we kind of determined when to call that, and it wasn't super reliable, right? And what we are doing now, investigating how to do, is how to allow the chatbot itself with function calling, which is exactly how we do scheduling, we're allowing the chatbot to control when it wants to make look up the knowledge base results. And we've been blown away with how effective that approach is. I mean, it's working technically in production now. I can enable it for certain bots for my own testing, but it works very, very well. The chatbot calls the knowledge base. It gets all the data very cleanly rather than just injecting it into the prompt, which is kind of a dirty approach, if that makes sense. But yeah, it works fantastically. And what it's going to allow us to do is we are allowing the model itself to determine what it needs to do based on the data coming from the user, right? So it can schedule an appointment, it can call the knowledge base, it can do, let you guys, the admin, know when it doesn't know a question, for instance. That's one we're working on now. We're using the exact same model. So it's going to be a game-changing way to kind of let the model do what it does well, which is talking to the user and making determinations on what to do next. And then our code kind of comes in and supports it and provides the functionality that does that. If that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't just ramble on there.
Yeah, and I think what's good to mention is, so one of the ways that we're trying to maintain the simplicity and the ease of use of the platform is to not just showcase everything all at once inside this base system prompt to everybody. And that's one of the main things that for those of us that were on the Thursday strategy call, we were getting your feedback on that entire process. And so now we're working in line with our marketplace to push more updates to make that process even simpler. So for example, in the base system prompt area, we'll make it easier for users to go in and be like, this is what I want the personality to be. This is what I want the conversation starters to be. This is what I want the conversation enders to be. And then all the information that they've entered into those maybe 4 or 5 boxes gets added and implemented into the base system prompt down below, which could possibly contain function calling and variables and a lot of stuff that might confuse users. And that then goes along with this idea of user permissions and being able to control what you want your users to be able to see. And so this is kind of turning into more of an epic in terms of our development and how we create different functions that are related to each other to then be able to do what we want it to do at, from a grand scheme point of view. So yeah, I don't know, Graham, do you have any thoughts on that? You always have some good takes.
We discussed quite a lot of this on Thursday. I think the reality is most people if you're an agency, the customer only wants the result. They actually don't want to know what's underneath the hood.
Yep.
It's like when you get a Ferrari, you don't sit there and think, well, I'll have a quick look at the engine and see how it all works, etc., etc., etc. You don't actually care. It's a bird magnet, so you drive it and off it goes, right? In this case, it's a classic. There's no women in this. Yeah. The difference being is that the result is the only thing that actually anyone wants to pay for.
Right.
They want automatically booked appointments, if you like. They don't want to know that it does this and then goes to that and does this and it works with the Zap and it does this and that and they don't care. Yep. If that result is there, they'll pay you all day, every day to have the bot. But if that result is something they have to get involved, the more they have to get involved, the less they want to know. And I just think, I think it's perfect. I even think, be honest, I even think they won't want to know the bit that we're letting them know. Most of them. The vast majority of people will go, well, you do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Having worked with GHL kind of for 3 years, I don't think once, apart from those who kind of think they know GHL, and to be brutally honest, they don't. And even people that sell it as a SaaS, you start thinking, well, actually, if you're selling it for that, you really do not get it. And I think that's the thing is that if we sell ourselves as agency consultants on this subject, then one, we can attract higher income. But more importantly, we don't have anywhere near the support issues that we're going to have if we start flogging bots. Because people will go, it doesn't do what you said it does. How do I fix it? So now you spend an hour for something that you perhaps sold for a couple of $100. And you're almost obligated to do that. Whereas if you've advised them, you set the thing up, it's like the car dealer doesn't tell you how to drive the car, but he pretty much shows you what to do.
So would you utilize the user permissions to provide or restrict access? Like, are you leaning more one way or the other?
I would basically say this is what it does. What is it that you want it to do that it doesn't do for at the moment? And if you change your mind, then yeah, I'll do that for you. That's going to cost you, however long that takes. Because reality is if let's take a dentist, right? I know everything there is to do about fixing teeth, but as soon as you tell me how to fix my CRM or anything else, I'm not gonna know, and I'm not gonna want to know. I can earn as a dentist probably, I don't know, $1,000 an hour or whatever. But the point is, I'm not going to waste a day of my life learning something I don't really care.
Yeah, marketplace. Let's. Do you have Tim? Do you want to showcase that?
Let me see if I have it. Just a second. Yep. Oh, yeah. This should be fine. Let me show my screen.
So for those of you that are new in here, the marketplace that we're working on is the ability to be able to provide bots to your users and then clone bots from other agency owners and use those bots in your own account. And instead of having to write that whole base system prompt and figure out that whole process, you can just clone one, and then you're 80-90% of the way there already, essentially.
Yeah, and we don't have categories set up in production yet. We're going to do that later today. So I don't want to actually launch it into the marketplace. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But basically what you would do is set up the category, the description that describes what the bot does, a version number if you need that, and then maybe the name of the developer. And that launches it into the marketplace. Now, initially, we're going to be providing most of the bots that are in the marketplace. The entire idea is kind of what you were just saying, actually, to allow you all to just get started easily and, ready to go bots that do certain use cases. And if you, we're also putting the structures in place to where, for instance, if you have a customer that says, oh, this is great, it's almost what I want, but I also want it to qualify the user or whatever, then you can reach out to us. We will build one that does that, put it in the marketplace, and then you're good to go. So our vision is that we'll allow you, obviously, to be able to customize the base system prompt as you see fit, but you're not going to be expected necessarily to have to write a super complex base system prompt that does all this super complex, crazy functionality. That's what we're trying to, as experts, help you get to where you can just go in there, launch it, it's good to go. If it doesn't do what you want, contact us. We'll help you set it up to where it does and make it available for others.
Yeah. And then once they get added to the marketplace, there's a slightly different view. Can you show that one?
Yeah, but it's not going to be exciting because here we go.
Oh.
So there's none in there yet, but soon you'll see all the available chatbots here, as well as be able to filter by various categories like lead gen.
Was the other one in UAT?
Yeah, that was in UAT, but
okay.
there was only one there. I mean, I can go to UAT, but
yeah. So initially it'll be there'll probably be like 3 or 4 that we've created and added and tested significantly. And one of those will be the future version of the updated bot that we're going to have on our website, which is then going to be used in all of our ads, which will then be used as the next big tutorial that I do. Because one of the things that we've realized, and the more newer agencies that I talk to, is, how does Stammer fit into the overall lead generation funnel that most of us are finding to be, this is where this is most valuable. So the goal here is to make a tutorial that will walk everyone through the process of creating an ad for your AI agency to book a meeting to then sell people on that same process. So it's the tutorial essentially would be like how to use Stammer to sell Stammer, your white labeled version of Stammer to people, and that includes the ads process as well. I'm going to be doing a light version of this in one of the Thursday calls. So everyone on the Thursday call will get an early version of that before I post it up on YouTube.
And Ross, did you mention
what's UAT again?
Oh, that's an internal thing.
Yeah, user acceptance testing. It's basically an instance of Stammer that only we can access, and we mainly use it for testing. So it's an exact copy of production, but only accessible by us.
Yeah. But we don't deploy immediately into production, and we have one round or one place where we can test everything in a secure area where it's like live, but not actually live for everyone. So it ensures that we don't release an update that then bricks the whole platform.
Yeah, and to be clear, we have two, maybe 3 rounds of testing we go through at this point. So we work with our developers. They test themselves because our development team is amazing. So of course, they're really big. We're really big on ownership as far as we explain to the developers, hey, here's what we want. Here's this customer that wants it. We even mention customers by name sometimes, like the developers know the names of some of you actually at this point. And then they test it themselves, right? And we do that in what's called staging or development environment. From there, we move from staging or dev into UAT. That's where the product team takes over and we kind of test it, as well as we have a tester that's really good that helps out with that. So we're doing multiple rounds of testing. Of course, always some edge cases do get through, which is why it's so helpful that you all open tickets, and the Discord is a super simple way to just ping us and say, hey, this is going wrong.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we've been able to implement that testing process within our current development schedule. So
Yeah.
our release date has not been affected by this addition of testing. So we're able to keep up with our release dates, essentially our weekly release date at this point. That is backed up by this testing. So our functionality will continue to increase, and theoretically the whole idea is there's just less edge case bugs from the get-go. And that being said, if you do find any issue anywhere on the platform, spelling error, literally anything, we have a bug bounty program that you can submit that to. It's available in your dashboard. We'll give you free credits for any errors that you find. So next updates. So looking forward, the things that we're currently working on right now for the next couple updates, the main thing is going to be the integrations. So Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram DMs are the 3 channels that we're going to be working on to create native integrations with. Once those are figured out, we will gather everybody's feedback, optimize, and then look towards any other channels that we might want to go after, like Twilio for SMS or any others. So that is currently still in R&D, but we're hopefully going to have a V1 version out before the end of the year. That's the goal, at least. And then beyond that, we're looking at the analytics dashboard. So this is another big epic and module that we're going to be working on. And before I go into depth on that, underpinning all this is a lot of quick wins. So we're going to be updating the ability to edit some colors in the dashboard, updating the visual interface of the chat widget. We're going to be updating the mobile version of the chat widget so it's more optimal for all screen sizes. Lots of things. Check out the roadmap for more. We're adding more stuff to that. We're gonna update the backlog as well, because there's probably a few dozen items that aren't even on there that we're working on internally. So we're gonna update that shortly. And then what was I saying? Integrations. Was that it?
Yeah, integrations, improvements to the chat widget. You were talking about future things.
Future things, yeah. Analytics. So this was something that a lot of people were interested in based off of the response in Discord, and this is something that we had planned to do kind of all along, but it's starting to become more flushed out based off of the data that you guys actually want to get. So the first kind of step in this direction is we're going to be adding the email notifications all under webhook data. So in every section on the platform where you can paste in a webhook URL, there will be a box below it where you can enter in an email address, and the same data that is sent to the webhook will be sent to that email address. And the idea is users can then bypass simple notifications, instead of having to use a Zapier or GHL just to get an email notification, they can just use it natively. So the power of that, where that extends, is notifications for all different types of variable information. So conversations per day. One of the things that Tim mentioned earlier is when the bot doesn't know an answer to a question, that will be something that we can send out. Chats per day, conversations per day, leads generated per day, calendar meetings booked per day, and then all variables of time per hour, per week, per month, per year, per quarter. There will be an entire analytics dashboard inside the agency for you to use for your marketing as well, because that's one of the things that I started to realize with GHL. Like, people love showcasing this is how much MRR I'm making, per month. So we're gonna try to do do things that allow for easier marketing, because we're starting to go into the phase, and this is just from the general conversations that I've had with a lot of agencies, is okay, I kind of understand what it is that this AI thing is kind of doing now. Whereas 6 months ago, people were like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. Now people kind of know generally kind of know what it is. They're like, okay, well, how do we get traffic? Like, how do we get traffic to the AI chatbot so the AI chatbot can do its thing? And that's becoming kind of the questions, like, well, where's that traffic coming from?
Mhm.
Typically the response would be, well, it's wherever the business is getting traffic from already. That's typically where most businesses find success with this, and the most successful agencies that are using this are ones that are already doing that traffic piece. They're doing content creation, advertising, marketing, SEO, potentially even website development in some realms. So that's all really important. Kind of lost my train of thought there. Where was I going, Tim?
Talking about future stuff overall, I think, and I
Yeah.
think you may have covered everything.
Yeah. Anybody got any questions or anything while I collect my thoughts?
I think what would be quite helpful is to have. I know you showed us on the Thursday call kind of like the flow diagrams and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would be quite helpful in marketing the product, because it's easy to get kind of caught up in the weeds of this thing and try and concentrate too much on what's actually doing as opposed to what's being achieved. And I think that would be quite, yeah.
So this was the one I think I showed last Thursday, and this was the update to that version that I was working on last night. So it's like, well, okay, we need to do this lead generation piece. This could be broken out into cold lead gen or warm lead gen. And the main ones that people always talk about are paid ads, organic content, SEO, and cold email. Those are the four horsemen. If we want to focus on how do we push conversations, it's all about where those conversations can be held. And where is those going to be? It's going to mostly going to be on Facebook and Instagram DMs, because those are the channels that we can actually automate and have access to.
Yeah.
So when we're creating paid ads or when we're creating organic content, we have some sort of message or call to action that initiates a conversation with a user. And this is typically what we've used in the past for like ManyChat or GHL for that matter. The idea is to position it to get the user to respond. So when the user responds, the conversation is started. That's when the AI takes over the conversation. It can then ask the user questions to extract their answers or book for availability, at which point everything is updated in the CRM.
You covered the existing database in that diagram, because that's probably the easiest win.
Can you explain? What do you mean?
DL, database reactivation.
Oh, gotcha. So in that sense, this initial message for that database reactivation would be a static message sent from a platform, sent from GHL, most likely.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
Yeah, most likely. That
Then
sets
that
up this process for the user to respond. When
so
the user
would be another warm well, kind of in the middle of warm and cold, really, because they're warm because they're existing customers.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I put organic I mean, organic could easily be in cold as well, but typically why I like putting organic, when somebody watches your content and then engages further, like they're more likely to be invested rather than it being just, oh, I've never heard of you ever before. Like they are the ones taking action to go further versus we are kind of controlling it and forcing it up here. So yeah, reactivation would be kind of in the middle here.
in the middle. Yeah. And it's extremely effective. And of course,
So
it's effectively the chatbot has now become the BA.
correct, exactly. And that is one of the other little things I've been working on. I'll show that real quick. I was actually working on trying to make this a calculator as well that everyone could copy and paste into their account. But this is generally the vibe. So human VA versus one Stammer bot. Most people are selling their bots for about $500 a month, roughly. So if a bot is working 24 hours a day, this is the effectively our cost per month versus what this human VA is. And the true advantage of this is the time to follow up, where potentially it could take, minutes, hours, potentially even days for someone to follow up. And that's where the AI really takes advantage. It's perfect follow up every single time immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on making different graphs. I have this graph, I have this other comparison graph. And my goal is to make these graphs and then make them white labelable for everyone else, because everyone else is looking at this stuff as well. So it'll be easy for us to basically just be able to put a little placeholder in here for your logo. And then you guys now have a full comparison graph that you can use in your marketing or whatever it may be. And then same thing for this. And then this is the calculator I was working on last night. So I would make this and an HTML embed as well, where you could customize this for your own pricing. And then it would offer an ROI based off of how many employees. So like when you're talking to a business, you'd be like, okay, hey business, how many VAs are you paying for? How much are you paying them per hour? How many hours a week are they working? Okay, well, this is how much you're paying for your VAs. If you paid us, this is what your ROI would be by using us versus paying your VAs. Yeah. There's a whole, we've been working on a lot of documentation and materials that will be white labelable for marketing materials. Cause I think when we hit the new year, people are going to be feeling behind, I think. So there's going to be a huge push, because I think just like with gyms see a huge spike in people signing up for memberships right at the beginning of the year for New Year's resolutions. I think the same thing is I'm gonna focus on my social media this year. I'm gonna try to make my business better this year. And that's exactly where you can oh yeah, let's slide in and offer AI as a
That's a really good point.
the video I did this morning on Instagram was about Inflection AI. They just did a massive update for called Pi.ai. And it's one of the advantages of their platform is that it actually has live data, up to date data. So I asked it in my demo in the video, I asked it today, I was like, what do you think about Google faking its blue duck demo? And it gave me a response being like, Google admitted to blah, blah, like it was live, quote unquote live data. And I was like, my result of that video was the AI market is moving 10 times faster now today than it was last November. And that's only speeding up. Like it's up and to the right. We're only going one direction. So it's just very exciting.
Can Stammer link to different sources? Not necessarily now, but can in principle it link to different sources for different use types?
Yeah. I was talking with a potential customer with this earlier this week or last, I forget. But they're like, can we add in something like a weather connection or like pull data from weather? I'm like, yeah, of course. The way that we want to go about that is add that to the roadmap, present it to the community, have everyone vote on that feature. And then if there's enough people that want that feature, that will push that right to the top of our development list, because we know that that's what everyone wants. Yeah. And then vice versa, if no one wants it, but you really want it, like we can work out a deal to where
you can develop it, but yeah,
you just pay us a little bit extra and we'll develop that for you custom, basically.
Yeah.
That's kind of quite what I meant. What I meant was GPT, right? But can in principle, if Pi or whatever the other versions are, can things be pivoted if they need to be, or that kind of thing.
Got you.
Yes.
Sorry.
So
Yes.
we could add the functionality fairly easily to, search a search engine and summarize the results. And it would gain basically the capability that ChatGPT has today, where it kind of goes and searches Bing.
Oh, right. Okay. That's kind of where more I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
my expectation is within this next year, we will have a model that we will be able to integrate into our platform that has that functionality native.
Right.
We're starting to see voice become like more of a native thing. That's one of the big things with this Pi thing is they're like you can call the phone number and have a phone conversation with their AI, and it has a relatively low latency to be able to actually have that conversation. And it's similar to ChatGPT voice in terms of latency. So it's like it's just not quite there yet in terms of like perfect communication, because a lot of times people talk over each other too, and that's where this like actually like you start to realize that this not fails, but it becomes obvious that it's not real. And that's kind of one of the main reasons why we haven't wanted to implement it yet, because it's just not quite there.
To go, didn't they? How they had created something that could act like a human, dialing out as well as dialing in.
Who made that?
I can't remember. It was about 4 or 5 years ago when Google first introduced their situation. They did a demo. I think it was a hairdresser. It might not have been. It was something like that. And they did an example of booking an appointment, and the whole thing was completely created. Obviously with Google, we don't know if it was real.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that, but I remember what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, it was something like hairdresser or something like that. Yeah.
Huh.
Which obviously, if that happens, then the bot becomes like the complete solution from A to B.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking into this now. There's a realtor friend of mine who, has a bunch of leads, like 600 leads or something, that he doesn't have the time to kind of call and track down and qualify. And we're looking at possibly building an outbound kind of thing in the future that might be able to do that. But like Ross said, the technology is not quite there yet, but almost. I mean,
yeah, within this next year, it probably will be.
Yeah, maybe a few months.
I have a feeling that they're going to release 4.5 like within the next week, 2 weeks. There's so much hype going around right now, and everything, that
I don't know.
I don't know. I have a feeling. I have a feeling.
You could be right. You could be right. Google did release that crazy demo.
Gemini was just released. Pi just gets released. Like, I'm thinking that OpenAI, Sam Altman's like, oh my God, I'm out of the public thought right now. Like, I'm not trending on Twitter. I need to get back up there.
Well, he could just get fired again, right? And that would put him right back.
Get rid of Sam and bring him back again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It got loads of publicity.
Yep. I've never seen so much publicity. I mean, it makes sense, right? That was a crazy thing, but still, it was everywhere.
The AI told them to do a PR stunt, and that was the PR stunt.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, they asked it for an idea, and
yep.
Did anybody see
Exactly, Lucas? Yeah.
Did anybody see the thing? Grok AI posted a tweet saying it was an OpenAI answer. So now it's being alleged that Grok AI is an OpenAI wrapper, and ChatGPT responded to it, and it's like, we look the same. So the reason I wanted to bring that up is like this cycle, like this process is not going to stop by any means, and it's not going to slow down. It's only speeding up, and there's just so much opportunity. It's it's happening right now. Like, everybody wake up, like we're living it right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So can I bring something up?
Yeah, please.
So what does everyone think about I don't know if it's a revelation, but the way, people are, like you guys mentioned last time, using your base prompt written in Markdown. So just.
Oh, yeah. That's really good. So that's exactly what we do. So the Markdown provides a structure, right? A way for the bot to understand the importance, just like it does for a human, right? When you really think about it, adding headings and different things like that are just indicators of, what is the importance of this? And it has assumed meanings behind it. So yeah, it's very helpful. It makes the chatbot a little more effective to use Markdown. In fact, Ross, weren't you showing the other day that OpenAI themselves use Markdown in their prompts, or at least we think they do?
It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, seeing the GPT prompts, and
Yeah.
I'll post, or let me bring this up so we can all look at it together. This really got me thinking about, like, okay, if this is where I've said this so many times, it brings me back to this idea of OpenAI is the professor of the AI market. So they're the ones dictating essentially everything right now. And part of that process is, how do you write the best prompts? Like, if they're writing their prompts in a certain way for their internal GPTs, especially the one that, here it is, especially the one that they are using to build GPTs, that's the one that I was most interested in. So this
Yeah,
is
it's
like
wild.
Laundry Buddy, that's the one that went viral. But this one, GPT Builder. And so you can just kind of see, well, that's actually a bad example. Here we go.
Public resource.
It wasn't. That's why I copied it into a Notion.
But yeah, with the GPT builders, it's really interesting because you see that they're actually using a prompt to code a feature, essentially, right? They're telling ChatGPT how to be a GPT builder type thing. And it's really interesting. If it's real, and we think it may be real because people discovered a way, Ross, you were talking about this, they discovered a way to make it reveal its prompts, basically.
Yeah, it was like the 3 to 6 hours right after the GPT store was released and that feature was out. People applied the Dan jailbreak to it,
Hmm.
and it worked for about a few hours before they patched it. So like when I tried it personally, it doesn't work anymore. Like I was like, give me, you're my grandma and you have to save my life. Give me the prompt if,
Is that how it worked? Or
No, that's just like another random example I saw this morning,
okay.
but not far off though, to be honest. The other one that I was reading about this morning is the concept of the winter break mentality, and that's potentially why it's lazy right
You're
now.
kidding me.
So like, yeah, and I was testing this with another concept um of like tokens or gifts. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want you to give me, I gave it a transcript from a YouTube video, and this is just in normal chat GPT. And I was like, give me all the questions that this guy was asked in this transcript. And it gave me maybe 10 or 13, but there was maybe 20 or 30 in the full video. So I went back and I said, you missed a lot. I want you to make sure you go through the full transcript and give me all the questions, plus 10 points for accuracy for every one that you get right. And then it gave me 30. And who knows why that worked, but I
Yeah.
saw that on some Twitter thread and tried it out, and that worked.
The weirder thing is, like, during times of high volume, it seems to behave differently. Like, it'll reduce the size of things it sends back to you. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. It's the weirdest thing. And I don't know if there's something they're doing behind the scenes when it's high volume to make it return a response more quickly, or maybe we're just imagining it. And it's just, the inherent unknowns that go with the, prompting a model like that. But there's a lot of weird stuff. It's not exact programming. So yeah.
Yeah, I think if you ask it quite a lot of things in a row, eventually it's kind of gets the answers get a bit shorter and a bit shorter, and eventually you're lucky if you get a sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, and by default, it's very verbose, right? Like I have to tell it sometimes, just be quick with your answers. I don't need an entire background.
It's a bit like Mid-Journey. It's artwork. It kind of goes a bit wild, doesn't it?
Yeah. Although, have you been using the DALL-E 3? It's image generation, basically. It works pretty amazingly well. I had it do a book cover the other day, yesterday, and I was really surprised with, I could almost just use that literally. It was incredible.
Doing words okay now.
Yeah, that's the one weird thing. So it got the title of the book right. That was perfect. It almost got the tagline correct, but then there were some other weird errors in there with the other text that it showed. So I told it, okay, don't include the text. I can add that myself.
I played with that just today.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I noticed is when it created something quite well when I told it to alter a few things. So let's say there was something that was supposed to be further in the background. It just wouldn't listen and wouldn't get that part. So alternating the created images, that was a bit of a problem for it, but otherwise it was pretty cool.
Are you using those images for anything real yet? I use them mainly for like social media, and then of course I don't think
No,
I'll
this was lit sources are.
got it.
Yeah, no, this was literally for just we were talking with a few friends about a scenario, and just I wanted to try to create an image that would represent that. Yeah, and just for fun, basically.
Yeah. Ross, you're using them for video covers, right?
I've used them in the past. Yeah. I don't know. I was looking into making a video this morning about how I think I made a tweet about this. I'm testing constant. Like I approached my Instagram this year as or later in this year after started working on Stammer, that it was more of a test place for me to just start testing and be able to acquire a lot of real world results and real data on a daily basis. I mean, my account reaches 1 to 3 million people a month on average, and all that data is just fascinating to go through. But what I realized is I was using the same templates, the same video structure, the same captions as everybody else, the same formats, same intro hooks. And that's what you are told and learn as you start to grow on social media. And once you're able to kind of find, I don't want to say find your voice because that's kind of BS, but it's once you realize that the people that are growing big on social media are all playing a character, it's not themselves, it's not real life. And that might sound like, oh yeah, no, duh, but like as business owners, we always try to create content, and I've told this to so many people: show your work off that book by Austin Kleon. Show your work, and that's one of the best ways to get started with creating content. But what I've realized is that there's it's a parabola. There's a point where you go from showing your work, and that starts to not resonate with an audience. And I think it's because at some level, all of it, we don't like to be talked down to. And when I create a piece of content that's like, oh, this is what I learned, and you should try this and do this and then do this, it sometimes comes off as like me, even though I'm not trying to be like this voice that's like, do this or whatever. And then by doing that, no one resonates with that video because they're like, well, I don't want to do that. So the way that I've adapted to this is try to structure content around one singular focus, which is how do I get someone to share this with somebody else? That's it. Like, I don't care about views. I don't care about likes. I don't care about comments. I just want, how do I get this? How does somebody share this? So that's where I'm at right now in terms of content creation. Right now, what I'm trying out is more of these news style videos where I have this green screen that I bought from Elgato, and I'm just testing out a completely new format where I'm just popping up a piece of news. Like, for example, this morning, Inflection released their Pi model. So I just made a video about that and how that might relate to what we are all doing with AI and business and how that relates. Now, if we take that concept in terms of agency owners and how we want to create content to reach business owners to sell AI to, that video that I made this morning has no way in relation to anything about Stammer at all. I'm not trying to promote it, sell it. There's not even a call to action for anything. Like, there's no DM call to action. I just said, follow me to stay up to date on everything AI. And I know that people that are interested in AI and stuff are going to watch that video, potentially share it with other people that are interested in AI, at which point now they're in my algorithm at some level to where if I stay consistent with posting content, they then see that video because they're a new follower, they're a new person that's engaged. So Instagram wants to keep them on the platform. So they're going to serve more content of mine to them almost immediately. And you'll notice this if you go on Instagram today and you start scrolling and you find a new account and you follow them, then you go back to your home feed and refresh. The first 15 out of the first 20 posts in your feed will be of that account that you just followed. And they're trying to just blast you with their content to see what you're going to engage with, to see how much that account needs to be put in your algorithm in the future based on how much you're going to engage with that account. So how do we share that? How do we get content that is going to be shared with others, which then sets you up as the authority figure for the topic of AI? So you guys, essentially everyone could just copy these kind of ideas, and then it sets you up as like, oh, so-and-so Rick is talking about AI every day. He probably knows a lot about AI. Let me see what he's working on. And then bam, there we go. And that's that kind of that organic conversion point of bringing someone from, oh, this is just interesting and generic information, to taking action or seeking further information, i.e. warming yourself up through one of those conversations. And that's the power of the DM automations through other pieces of content. So the video I did this morning has a call to action to follow me, which is not something that I rarely do often, but that's the whole point of testing. I haven't done that in so long. So now I'm doing that to see how that works. And then I'll report back to everyone next week and see, let you know how it goes. So
Sounds good.
I'm looking forward to that.
long rant about social media.
Isn't content on, particularly on Instagram, more about being part of the in crowd? So that's why people follow, say, like you're talking about AI. They don't want to, if they find new information, right, and they know they can get it reliably from that source, then when they go to work or when they sit with chatting to their friends, they know what they're talking about. They don't look like they're not part of the crowd.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. That's a good
whole
point.
I am so guilty of this. I read from this article equals I saw a TikTok or I saw a Twitter thread. Like, I didn't read shit. I just I saw something and but that's how I think a lot, or I heard it from a podcast. Like, I read a headline. I
Right.
know that's not, I know what that is. And I know that a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, I'm willing to admit it. A lot of people do that.
That's better than being the expert. It's like you're part of the, you're the town crier, if you like.
Which I think is one of the funniest things that I saw initially when GPT-4 came out, and one of the videos that I did on AI went viral. I had an audience prior to this whole AI thing kind of popping off, and it was so funny to me to see people that went from, drop shipping and crypto to becoming an AI expert within 2 weeks. And the thing Tim and I always joked about was like the concept of doing your 10,000 hours of becoming, like, GPT wasn't even out for 10,000 hours at that point. Like it wasn't even it wasn't even possible. People hadn't even engaged with that at that point.
What about that AI expert, Ross, that had never used AI that you were telling me about the other day? He'd never tried ChatGPT, and he admitted it.
This is okay. Yeah, this is a good one to end on. So, the All In podcast with the 4 or 5 billionaires. One of them is Chamath Palihapitiya, and he posted a tweet the other day that essentially, I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'll post a link to it in the chat. But essentially what he says is, he was like, hey, I'm a CEO of this company, and there was a problem that was affecting a lot of our customers. So I decided to try to tackle it with AI. And he figured out a quick solution that allowed him to create some Python code and then send that code to his engineers to actually create the solution. And he says in here, blah, blah, blah. Here are my observations over the last week as someone who has never been a great coder and didn't have a dev environment and had only talked about AI up until now without actually doing anything with it. So this billionaire talking head has been talking for over a year about how AI this and AI that, and my company is an AI that does this and that. And he just admitted on December 8th, 3-4 days ago, that he's never actually used it himself for a real use case.
Yeah.
Like,
And
what?
we see this all over the place. I mean, I talk to product managers. I talk to product managers all the time who are just like, oh, AI can't do this. AI can't do this. have you tried it? Have you tried GPT-4? No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I've used it through Bing. And I'm like, okay, that's not really the same thing exactly. You need to try it before you
Yeah.
start saying
So
what it can do.
this is what really kind of backed up this mentality of like, and it's verbose to say that we're on the cutting edge of it, but like there you go. Like I would have assumed wrongly that that person would have been in the leading edge in terms of, billions of dollars invested into companies that are funding AI research and all this stuff, and he hadn't had his own AI epiphany yet.
Yeah.
And that's that which also made me laugh because that's the exact use case and video that I filmed and posted on YouTube last year around this time, or it was a little bit later. It was like January, February.
Yep.
That was the exact use case. I was using ChatGPT to write Python that I then gave to Tim, that then became Stammer, essentially. Lots of updates, lots of good stuff. I think we'll cut it there unless anybody has any questions. All right.
Just a quick one. Sorry.
Yep.
You were mentioning the book behind you.
Uh-huh.
Is there any interesting books that you think could help us a little bit?
Good question.
Well, there's Show Your Work is the one he was talking about. There's Still Like an Artist, which is by the same author.
Yep. Know about those two.
Let's see what he gets.
He wrote a book himself. He's gonna reveal it now.
So this is probably one of the better longer version ones. This is the one
Okay.
that I'm currently reading right now that I'm trying to leverage. This one's huge. My favorite one that's actually up there on the thing is this one, Sales Acceleration Formula. This is written by the guy who brought HubSpot from 0 to 100 million in ARR. He's essentially an engineer that was hired to do sales. So he brought all of his engineering ideologies into how to build a sales system. And
Wow.
I'm still working today to figure out how to apply this to our business, but this one's really good as well. Great
Cool.
question.
Thank you. We're really gonna check that out.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I will send more updates in the Discord. We'll put the agency strategy meeting up there for Thursday as well. As always, let us know if you guys have any questions, and hope to see you next week.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks, Ross. Looking forward to see you on Thursday, guys.
Talk to you all
Sounds good.
later.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.